What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the A24 Archive. This is the segment on my channel where I go back through A24's entire catalog from the first film they released all the way until whenever I get caught up. And I'm approaching 70 films in A24's catalog, and it's been a lot of fun doing this series. I really like going through A24's catalog because obviously I've watched a lot of A24's produced films already, but there's a lot of them that I never would have thought to check out or probably wouldn't check out if it wasn't for this series. And this movie is the perfect example of one of them. And the reason why I probably wouldn't have checked this movie out is because of the absolutely abysmal reviews that it received upon its release. I was never really interested in watching this movie, but I knew at some point it was going to show up and I was going to watch it. And the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is How to Talk to Girls at Parties. How to Talk to Girls at Parties is directed by John Cameron Mitchell. Croydon, 1977. A trio of punk teenagers go to a party to meet girls, but they find that the girls there are very different than what they expected. So, as I said, I wasn't super excited to watch this movie, and this movie is a heaping pile of trash. I hated this movie. It's definitely one of the worst films in A24's catalog. It's barely a movie. This is a movie that I would say, and this is coming from a person who Yorgos Lanthimos and Charlie Kaufman are two of my favorite directors. This is weird for the sake of weird. It doesn't really say anything profound or thought-provoking. It thinks it is much smarter than it actually is, and it feels like it was shot by a college film school freshman. Some of the cinematographical decisions in this movie are bafflingly terrible. The way that they do some of the shots with like the slowed down frame rate that just carry on for so long, and they just feel nonsensical. They don't really feel like they're capturing an element of this specific era. They don't feel like they're saying anything very unique. And I'll talk about that more as I break the movie down. For the beginning of the film, we are introduced to N, played by Alex Sharp, who is a punk kid. He loves spending time with his friends, and it is the year 1977. And they go to all these punk rock shows. They spend a lot of time in that community. And one night they're out hanging out, and they stumble upon this house party that they're told to go to by Boadicea, played by Nicole Kidman. And so they show up at this party. There are all these people here dressed in very strange clothing and acting very weird. And they go in and they're approached by these women. And so they're all kind of taken aback. And one of the women that is there is Zan, played by Elle Fanning. And we learn early on that Zan and all of her friends in this house are aliens, and they have traveled back and forth through Earth multiple times. They discuss that they've probably seen multiple iterations of these human beings in their lifetimes, and she is interested in the culture at the time and in the punk rock scene, and so she becomes infatuated with N, and the two of them start spending time together. And the entirety of the movie is this sort of budding young romance blossoming between these two characters and them learning more about each other and each other's cultures. So, as I said, I thought this movie was terrible. I really don't have anything positive to say about the movie. It's really poorly shot. Elle Fanning does fine with the material that she is given. I feel like she can play the uncomfortable, awkward character really well. Nicole Kidman's performance is not great in this movie either. I felt like she was kind of phoning it in. It didn't feel like she was having really a great time with the material, and she just kind of showed up and was there. I could not stand any of the friend group, like the punk friend group. They were all incredibly obnoxious. The actors, just their performance and their dialogue delivery was really terrible. I absolutely hated the way this movie was shot. I could not stand it. There were so many different techniques used. Editing was so jarring. I got a headache within the first 5 minutes of just how poorly edited and quickly edited that this movie was thrown together. It just seemed like it was trying to create a pace that was accompanying that punk rock theme, but it doesn't work. It shoves you into it in a way that's really uncomfortable and annoying. And I just became really irritated by it really fast. And as I said, I don't feel like the movie is saying anything particularly interesting. Commentary on punk rock culture, the movie is about the furthest thing from punk rock I've ever watched. It doesn't really seem to understand the music of the era, what made that time period special, the people that are supposedly fitting into the cliches and the norms of who punk rock kids are supposed to be like in that era. They don't necessarily fit that mold in a way that I felt like was believable by any means. The most interesting thing you can get out of this is this alien species that has been living a very specific way for so long, finally coming to terms with, hey, maybe everything that we do isn't necessarily perfect, and learning from this other species could be important. But it doesn't examine that in a way that's all that particularly interesting or thoughtful. It's just really awful dialogue that it's miserable to get through. There's so much dialogue that just kind of made my skin crawl because of how cringy it was. And I was just like itching to get to the finish line of this movie. I could not wait for it to be over. It was a miserable slog, and I don't have much more to say other than I would not recommend this movie to anyone. It was a miserable experience that I don't plan on having ever again. So have you seen How to Talk to Girls at Parties? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was terrible. I hated everything about it, and I have nothing nice to say. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.